get back into being a mayor. And we already know she's not going to win that supervisor.
Hold on to your seats, folks, because we're about to dive headfirst into the political whirlwind of Dalton, Illinois. Have you ever witnessed a drama so intense it could outshine even the wildest reality TV meltdown? Brace yourselves, because Mayor Tiffany Henyard's reign is nothing short of a roller coaster packed with scandals, power struggles, and jaw-dropping twists. Oh, on what should have been an ordinary Monday night, a village trustee meeting was set to erupt into the epicenter of a political storm. Frustrated citizens, armed with their anger and a healthy dose of skepticism, packed the room, ready to unleash their fury at Mayor Henyard. What followed was a showdown so explosive, it left the entire town buzzing. The meeting kicked off 30 minutes late, over what seemed like a trivial issue. But that delay was all it took to ignite the simmering frustration in the room. What began as a minor inconvenience quickly spiraled into an atmosphere thick with tension. And the more I thought about it, I couldn't conceive of a time. Then the spark came. A cutting remark from one resident who grabbed the microphone and delivered a line that sent shockwaves.
Waiting Mayor Henyard to arrive. We'll give another 5 minutes.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard delayed the meeting with no explanation.
Waves through the gathering. We just sacrificed 32 minutes to someone who doesn't care about anyone's time but her own. The comment landed like a thunderbolt. Even someone as notoriously unflappable as Mayor Tiffany Henyard would have found it hard to shrug off. From that moment on, the floodgates burst wide open. One by one, residents approached the microphone, their voices trembling with anger and determination. They weren't just airing grievances. They were delivering a unified message. The time for change had come. Their frustrations crystallized into a rallying cry that echoed throughout the room. Clean House 2025. This wasn't just a venting session anymore, it was an ultimatum. Speaker after speaker expressed the same sentiment, calling out Henyard's leadership and vowing to bring about her political downfall. One passionate voice stood out, urging everyone to take action. We must make sure we go to those polls and vote. Vote right, because we cannot let her continue to be mayor. The energy in the room was electric, a volatile mix of anger, determination, and hope for change. What started as an ordinary meeting had transformed into a community's reckoning, a declaration that they had reached their breaking point and the status quo could no longer stand. Tiffany Henyard, true to her reputation, was never one to back away from a fight. Faced with a storm of scathing accusations and blunt ultimatums from the residents, she stood her ground with her signature mix of defiance and unshakable confidence. Rather than showing an ounce of intimidation, she fired back, her voice slicing through the charged atmosphere.
Know this, I am going to come through on a landslide just like Trump did. Know that I will be victorious.
The disrespect you guys just showed at that microphone is unbelievable. Her tone was razor sharp, dripping with contempt, leaving no doubt that she had no intention of pandering to her critics. Henyard wasn't done. With an air of authority, she doubled down. I have the seat. Now, whether you like it or not, I am your mayor. It was a statement not just meant to reaffirm her position, but to provoke. A bold declaration that she wouldn't bend to the tide of public sentiment. Then, in a moment that shocked many, Henyard audaciously drew a parallel between herself and former President Donald Trump. She likened their leadership styles, claiming both were misunderstood figures standing firm in the face of relentless criticism. She hinted at her own version of a landslide victory, framing herself as a polarizing but resilient leader who believed history would ultimately vindicate her actions. Listen, Ben, if you're not over this whole body talk and stuff, I think it's fine. Her remarks were a calculated move to rally her supporters while needling her detractors. But for many in the room,
sacrifice 32 minutes to an individual that doesn't give a damn about anybody's time.
It was yet another example of her perceived disconnect from the community she was elected to serve. Her refusal to acknowledge the public's grievances and her tendency to double down in the face of controversy widened the divide. While some may have viewed her statements as a show of strength, others saw them as a glaring refusal to accept accountability, a defiant act that further alienated the very people whose trust she needed most. They found the fatal flaw by finding the gap in her defenses and learning to waltz it much cleaner. She tore them apart. "We are your bosses. We are the citizens of Dalton, and you will not continue to treat us in this manner." With these words, a resolute resident stood up to Mayor Tiffany Henyard, channeling the frustration of an entire community. It was a moment that perfectly encapsulated the growing anger and determination in Dalton, a town fed up with leadership they felt had dismissed their voices for far too long. The next morning, when Dalton left his apartment building, he had a red plastic bag and a tube of paper towels. He garbage-packed and over 1,000 paper to be sent home. Henyard's defiance was met with an equally unyielding response from the residents, whose resilience was on full display. This wasn't just another heated exchange. It was a powder keg of emotions, exploding into a public confrontation that laid bare the deep divisions tearing through Dalton's political landscape. As Henyard's taunts rang out, one audience member fired back with a sharp retort that echoed through the gathering, a direct challenge to the authority of a mayor many viewed as out of touch. The bold response struck a chord, rallying the crowd into thunderous cheers and applause. It was a clear message. This was no longer just about frustrations. It was a battle for accountability and respect. The clash unfolded like a dramatic showdown, with Henyard's authority being openly questioned and the residents refusing to back down. The room was charged with energy, every moment amplifying the stakes. This wasn't merely a disagreement over policies. It was a pivotal moment for Dalton, as its citizens stood together to assert their power against what they saw as arrogance and overreach. The tension in the room was palpable, the atmosphere thick with urgency and purpose. This confrontation wasn't just about one leader's choices. It was about a community demanding to be heard, proving that democracy thrives, even in the smallest corners of the world. In this raw, unfiltered moment, the people
At the conclusion of this investigation, I will provide an assessment of the findings and the recommendations.
of Dalton reminded everyone that their voices matter, and their collective determination could challenge even the most entrenched of wills. This is what truffle making is all about. It's about facing your own fears, each year making a change, even the most entrenched of wills. The FBI's investigation into the village of Dalton cast a looming shadow over Mayor Tiffany Henyard, intensifying the controversies surrounding her administration. Public dissatisfaction surged as the probe into village spending uncovered alarming financial mismanagement. A separate inquiry, spearheaded by former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot, revealed a startling deficit in the village's general fund. So how much money did they score? Lightfoot's report highlighted a troubling decline, with the fund balance plummeting from $5.61 million in 2022 to a deficit of $3.65 million by May 2024. The revelations didn't stop there. Scrutiny of Henyard's use of the village credit card exposed several questionable purchases made without proper receipts. For those of you who are apparently, quote, a Henyard is no longer a. Among the most shocking was a $43,000 expenditure on Amazon, dated January 5th, 2023. These financial irregularities fueled growing calls for her removal from office, as residents demanded answers for what they saw as blatant mismanagement of public funds. Adding to the governance crisis was the absence of two key trustees, Christopher Gonzalez and Carmen Carlisle, during a critical board meeting. Their refusal to attend stemmed from concerns over a lack of transparency surrounding the agenda and village finances. This absence stalled the board's ability to vote on appointing a new trustee, deepening the political dysfunction. The tension between Henyard and the trustees escalated further when she attempted to unilaterally appoint Ronald Barrar as the new police chief. bypassing board approval. A village spokesperson labeled the move illegal, amplifying the power struggle. Gonzalez voiced his apprehension, questioning Henyard's urgency to push through the meeting. Both he and Carlisle remained wary of granting her unchecked authority, especially in light of past spending controversies. Complicating matters further was the controversial appointment of Lacey Burge as interim police chief. Burge's legal history, including allegations of bankruptcy fraud, and his failure to meet state certification standards, made his selection highly contentious. Although a judge temporarily allowed Burge's appointment for 30 days, it only added to the mounting scrutiny surrounding Henyard's leadership. Meanwhile, Henyard's personal life became a public spectacle when a landlord-tenant dispute with Janetta Hull revealed financial instability. Hull accused Henyard and her partner of failing to pay rent since August, resulting in thousands of dollars in arrears. Hull further alleged that Henyard had changed the locks and garage codes to bar her from accessing the property. The ongoing eviction case added another layer of turmoil, painting a picture of a leader grappling with personal and professional crises. Even Henyard's attempts at public relations backfired spectacularly. Her annual turkey giveaway, intended as a goodwill gesture, was widely criticized as a transparent ploy to distract from the scandals. Many residents saw the timing of the event as a desperate bid to regain public support. Promotional posters plastered across town only fueled the discontent, with some comparing her tactics to authoritarian propaganda. Henyard's political maneuvers reached new extremes with the unveiling of giant billboards featuring her image and slogans like "Keeping my promises," "Fighting for my residents." Instead of inspiring confidence, the billboards became symbols of her detachment from the community. Reports of Henyard using police officers as personal bodyguards blurred ethical lines, while allegations of taxpayer-funded luxury travel and extravagant parties reinforced the belief that she prioritized self-promotion over public service. In a particularly striking incident, Henyard reportedly called the police on workers removing banners featuring her image and the title Supermayor. This act only solidified perceptions of her authoritarian tendencies. While residents acknowledged the need for security and leadership, Henyard's perceived misuse of public funds and heavy-handed tactics to silence dissent left the community outraged. The overwhelming presence of Henyard's self-promotion efforts, through events, billboards, and security measures, only widened the rift between her and the residents of Dalton. With mounting scandals, legal troubles, and a community demanding accountability, the cracks in Henyard's administration have grown impossible to ignore. Her actions, once aimed at consolidating power, now serve as a rallying cry for change in a town that feels betrayed by its leadership. Mayor Tiffany Henyard's re-election bid has ignited fierce debate in Dalton, a town divided by her controversial leadership. Once celebrated as the first female mayor and a symbol of change, Henyard now faces allegations of corruption, financial mismanagement, and abuse of power. Critics see her campaign as a desperate attempt to salvage a tarnished legacy, while supporters frame her as a resilient leader battling political sabotage. This election represents a critical crossroads for Dalton. Continue with Henyard's divisive vision, or pursue a fresh start prioritizing transparency and accountability. The stakes are high, as the outcome will shape the town's future and determine Henyard's legacy. Will she overcome the scandals and secure another term, or will this election mark the end of her tenure? For Dalton, the decision will have lasting consequences.